Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us at the Rochester Public Library and the SBDC for the October First Wednesday program. This is being recorded and will be on the library's YouTube page in the near future. Um, that's it for the library's introduction. Christine?
Everyone, thank you for joining us today for our first Business Wednesday for October. My name is Christine Rogers, and I'm a business advisor with the SUNY Brockport Small Business Development Center. You might know us as SBDC. Our center provides free and confidential business counseling to startups, entrepreneurs, and small business owners. And our free services are made possible by the SBA, funding from the SBA, the state of New York, and our host campus is SUNY Brockport. You can find or make an appointment by going to our website at www.sbdcbrockport.org. I'll make sure to put that in the chat. And make sure to follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. You follow Brockport SBDC so you don't miss any of our wonderful events like this one. Today, it is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Jen Schweitzer, who is a licensed clinical social worker, foster parent, and the founder of Jen Schweitzer LCSW. She specializes in providing workshops, education, and customized programming for helping professionals, ensuring they feel prepared, supported, and connected. Additionally, Jen offers professional development, corporate training, and leadership coaching to help professionals manage stress, prevent burnout, and lead with confidence. Through engaging presentations and interactive training, she equips individuals, teams, and communities with the tools to build resilience, set boundaries, and create lasting success, both personally and professionally. Take it away, Jen. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Christine. I very much appreciate the invitation. So I want to just say thank you to the Central Library, to SUNY Brockport SBDC, and to Christine for reaching out and making this possible. So I really appreciate being here. And so I'm going to talk about resilience strategies for sustainable success for small business owners, for entrepreneurs, how to build those. And my goal for you today is to leave with some tips and tricks that you can implement into today and leave here just feeling a little bit more equipped to handle the stressors of being a small business owner or an entrepreneur. So, thank you, Christine, for the amazing introduction. I am Jen. I am in the Rochester area. I am a therapist. I do the professional development, corporate training, and a workshop hosting. I am somebody who has struggled with burnout. I didn't realize that burnout was a part of my life until it was a little bit too late. And it impacted both myself personally and professionally, which kind of led me into the entrepreneurial world. And I was able to learn from past experiences and take that into the success of building my own business and basically being where I am today. So I feel really lucky. I know that that is a little bit of a double-edged sword. I feel lucky that I experienced what I did because it brought me to where I am today. And it's given me just a little bit more clarity on the role I want to play, especially in my family, with my relationships, and in my business itself. So when we think about entrepreneurship, when we think about being a small business owner, we know that this is extremely rewarding. Likely, and we may not have come into this role first thing into our career. Some of us may have, but we might have taken a couple of steps to get here. We might have worked for corporate. We may have worked for somebody else, and so entrepreneurship is it is an amazing experience. It can be extremely rewarding. It can allow us freedom. It can allow us financial goals that we hit. It can be so fulfilling to build, create, and sustain your own thing. In that, our role can also be extremely demanding. And what I want you to learn today is a little bit about how we fall into bad patterns and what we can do about them. So, I want you to walk away today with tools that you can use to manage stress, identify if burnout is happening or being experienced, and take that, learn from that, and begin to lead either yourself, your team, whatever that looks like, with resilience to create that sustainable success that we're looking for in our businesses. So let's talk about some of the realities of small business ownership. While there are some amazing perks of being a small business owner, we're also faced with some really difficult stones to overturn. There are the financial risks. Likely, I recently opened my own practice. This was a trajectory of my own business. I recently opened a new office. The financial piece that came along with that, extremely risky. I've put a lot of money into the down payment, the monthly mortgage or rent, furnishing, making this a setting that people want to walk into. Usually it's our own money. It could be a large business loan, it could be a small business loan. So the financial risks that go along with being a small business owner are pretty high. The unpredictable schedules. I'd love just a show of hands. How many of you as a business owner work a traditional 9 to 5? I know that I don't. And so I'm guessing that many of you don't either. We might, this morning, I set my alarm early before my 3 kids got up in an effort to try and just finalize everything for this presentation. And so I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning, starting work. Do I need to do that? No. But for me, the importance of feeling overly prepared, and I was up last night doing some notes from client visits yesterday. So I probably ended my day at about 9 o'clock last night. Um, the unpredictability of schedules, the ability to adapt to other people's schedules can change your schedule. So knowing that we aren't working a traditional 9 to 5. The number of people that I hear say small business ownership is a 24/7 job. We feel like we need to do it all. I am the marketer. I am the bookkeeper. I am the one putting my time and energy into basically all of the tasks that I'm doing throughout the day. I didn't have at the beginning the revenue or the capital to hire that out. Do I have that now? Maybe. Am I still trying to do it all? Maybe. We're also a lot of times small business owners can feel that perfectionism of, well, if I don't do it, it's not being done right. And so that pressure that we're putting on ourselves, I can't delegate because that person's not going to be able to do it the way that I envision it happening. So when we think about small business ownership, we have these financial risks, we have the unpredictable schedules. We might feel like we need to do it all. What this does is it creates an impact on our overall success, on the long-term sustainability of our business, and they're challenging this model is challenging ourselves and our overall emotional well-being, our emotional mental health, and we know that that impacts everything in our life. It impacts our relationships. It impacts how we're showing up at home, maybe for our partners or our children or our, if whomever is our dogs, our cats. It's challenging all of that in your life. And so by taking on all of this, we are setting ourselves up for the potential that our business may not be sustainable. It may not be able to continue to grow because we are one person and we cannot do it all. So, what do we need to do in order to build that sustainable success? What do we need to do in order to create an environment where we're not a one man or a one woman show? What do we need to do to build that long term success of our business? At some point, the hustle of doing everything stops being a strength and starts becoming a liability. Again, we're not able to do it all. And if we try, we're going to get into this cycle of burnout. And what happens in burnout is that emotional exhaustion. We kind of check out a little bit. What I experienced when I was in burnout, again, I didn't realize that I was in burnout until I was like in it. I didn't really care about the work that I was doing. I felt disconnected. I wasn't connecting with my coworkers. I wasn't really invested in the work that I was doing. It was more of me trying to get things done, not really worried or caring about the quality of work. I had decision fatigue. So I would work a 9 to 5 and I would come home and my husband would say, "What do we want for dinner?" And I'd say, "I don't know." I couldn't even think through common decisions that need to be made outside of work. Things weren't exciting. I felt really irritable. These are some common symptoms, signs that you may be experiencing burnout. So when stress continues to compile, and when you're trying to do it all and you feel like everything is on your shoulders, if we don't manage it, if we don't address it when it's present, it moves over into that burnout phase. And what happens when burnout comes is that disconnection. We might be emotionally removed from the work that we're doing. We've created this business, we've created this livelihood for ourselves, and we're working so hard that we're no longer enjoying it. Why does this matter? So when you're in this burnout phase, when you are experiencing daily stress that isn't being addressed, that we're ignoring, you're likely going to experience decreased productivity and focus. Your relationships are going to be impacted. There could be some serious health consequences. The rate of heart attacks, diabetes, weight gain is a lot higher when we are not addressing the stressors in our life. If we're in this phase of burnout, this could impact not only our emotional health, but our physical health as well. And our business sustainability is at risk. I remember when I first started my business and I thought nobody could do what I'm doing. Someone once told me that if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room. I want to start surrounding myself with people that can do things better than I can. I want to start surrounding myself with people who bring different perspectives and a different way of thinking. Those are qualities that are going to continue to sustain your business. When we do it all by ourselves, when we think that nobody can do it as good as we can, we're putting our business at risk. And so there are a lot of strategies behind, finding the right people, putting the right people in the right seats and making sure we're working with strengths. And, my strength is not bookkeeping. And so when I'm thinking about hiring, that's one of the first places that I'm like, okay, let's hire there because I know that I'm not good at that. I know that I need support in that area. So, how do we bridge this gap? When we think about stress, when we think about burnout, when we think about the financial risks, the thinking that we have to do this all by ourselves, thinking that nobody can do this as well as we can, how do we counteract that? We do that by building a resilient leadership strategy. And so when we think about resilience, when we think about what we want ourselves as a leader to look like, we want to be able to adapt. We want to be able to recover from challenges. We know that there are going to be challenges in our business. We know that there are going to be things that come up that we didn't plan for. It's just part of business. We didn't financially prepare for, we didn't mentally prepare for, maybe physically prepare for. There are going to be challenges. We have to decide how we are going to adapt and recover from those challenges. When we are in a resilient stage of our career, when we are able to look at challenges and maybe see them more as opportunities, us leaders are able to make clearer decisions. We're able to retain energy because we know that if we don't have the energy to put into our business, we're not giving it everything it deserves. And we're also inspiring others. We want our teams to see that there's a challenge and we're ready for it. We're ready to adapt. We're ready to make this into an opportunity. I just went to a presentation the other day and we talked about looking at challenges as opportunities. Yes, this happened. What are we going to learn from this? And what are we going to do about this? I know that, there's a big phase of the Mel Robbins book, Let Them. And I don't know if anybody's read it. I'd love to see hands of who's read it. It's something that we do in mental health therapy all the time. And it is very much like this is going to happen. Someone's going to do or say this. This might happen to our business. Great. We have no control over that. What are we going to do about it? And this is where we take things into our own hands. This is where we become the resilient leader that is going to be able to lead a team, combat burnout, manage stress as effectively as we can, and build those teams that are producing and putting out quality work and meeting deadlines. What are we going to do about it? This is very much working on your business as well as instead of working in your business. How are we going to manage? What are we going to do as a result? The question comes back to us. So this happens, and this is what we're going to do next. Sometimes that might take a little while, and it might take some reflection, and it might take some brainstorming, and it might take members of your team, or it might take, self-care strategies like journaling or, however you like to reflect. It might take some serious reflection. Some challenges are bigger than others. But the question we need to ask ourselves is, what are we going to do with this? How are we going to use this to our advantage? And that's where resilient leaders come in. So what are the 3 pillars of resilient leadership? So we are looking at 3 different opportunities to become a resilient leader. In order to take that let them, let me strategy, we need to first be able to take a look at stress management. How are we managing the day-to-day stress of being a business owner? Step 2 is thinking about boundaries. How do we set them? And most importantly, how do we keep them? Where do we have opportunities to do that? And then the third part of that is our sustainable growth. We want to build systems, processes that are going to continue to foster growth that can be used for years and years down the line. We don't want quick fixes. Fixes happen sometimes. Sometimes we have to have a quick fix in order to kind of move forward. But ultimately, we want to take that quick fix and build a process or system that will lead to sustainable growth. So, what does that look like? So, first, we're going to talk about stress management. In therapy, we call this a growth mindset. So, we want to take a look at how, again, how we are viewing challenges, how we are viewing the day to day, the idea that stress is information. What are we going to do about it? How are we going to manage it? What strategies do we have in place for ourselves and our teams to manage stress? We want to think about practical tools for managing stress. I use what's called an A-task list. This is a method of non-negotiables in my day. So, the way that I do this is every day I take a look at my calendar. I take it from usually it's either on my computer or on my phone. Everything kind of syncs together. And I actually go in and write down first thing in the morning into my paper calendar so that I can get just a real time look at what I'm doing for the day. On the side of that, I'm writing an A task list. I am generally doing 3 things that are non-negotiable in my day. This has nothing to do with my meetings or agendas. It has nothing to do with the clients that I'm seeing. This is for me. 2 of these are going to be what drives my business forward. So these are kind of high level. Today I need to go through and take a look at my financials. It's Money Monday, and I need to be able to kind of just make sure I have all my receipts in there, make sure I have any revenue that's come in. This is a task that's moving my business forward. I get to see firsthand what's coming in, what's going out, and make any adjustments that I need to. Second non negotiable might be I have this big project that's coming up that's due at the end of the week. I want to have at least section 1 of this done by the end of the day today. So your 2A tasks are what is going to move the needle forward in my business today. My third A task is going to be something for me. Maybe I need to step away from my computer for lunch. Maybe I need to take a 15-minute break and just get outside and walk today. Maybe I'm going to shut my computer and journal, meditate, yoga, whatever that is. In order to reduce stress, you need to take care of yourself. I could do a whole entire presentation on stress management tools, techniques, but I'm going to break this down super fast for you by doing this A task. One thing for you on this non negotiable A task list for each day. You need to be able to reset. You need to be able to come at things from a new perspective, a new lens, and you need to be super intentional about taking time for yourself during the day. This is so important to the success for you, for your business, for your team, ultimately for your livelihood. Likely you created this business. Your vision for this business was, I want something that's going to be successful. I want something that I feel passionate about. Again, we're going to go back to that burnout. If you lose that passion, what happens to your business? So when we think about stress management as being the first pillar of being a resilient leader, how am I managing the day-to-day stress of being a business owner, of managing a team? What am I doing for myself? How am I implementing this? How am I making it a non negotiable? How am I viewing stress? How many of you are good at setting boundaries? Sometimes I know that trying, amazing. Yes. I know that I was always good at setting boundaries, but I was never good at keeping them. That was the hard part. And so the first part is deciding. So when you think about a simple framework for setting boundaries, we need to decide what is a boundary, what sounds important, what is important. The second part is I need to communicate that. And the third part is I need to uphold that. And so when you think about a boundary, it's not just a simple one-step plan. It's about communicating, upholding. There are a lot of different boundaries. There are physical boundaries. So let's say you are in an office space and you have 30 minutes of focused time to work on your business. A physical boundary might be for those 30 minutes, you are shutting the door to your office. Maybe you're putting, a whiteboard on your office or a note on your office door that says, you know, will be available at 2 p.m. today for any, I know a lot of people like the open door policy. So if I close the door to do this focused work, I know that I need to get this done. This is an A task for today. I might need to close my door for a half an hour, get this done. But I also want to be there for my team, support my team. And so how do I balance that? So maybe I have between 2 o'clock and 2:15 today as an open time. I'm going to keep my door open and allow people to come in and ask questions. But I'm also going to make sure that I have a closed door for half an hour to get, my Monday money mindset piece done. So thinking about that physical boundary is maybe closing the door, communicating that you're in focused work time. I worked with a CPA office previously, and they all implemented a 12 to 12:30 was lunch, and 12:30 to 1 was everyone had focused work time. And so everyone would close their doors, everyone would get that. They called it library hours. And they actually found that during that 30 minutes, they were like 2 times more likely to get their A tasks done, to have the ability to focus, concentrate, put the time and effort into that rather than being distracted, rather than having people knocking at their door, rather than, checking their email, which is another boundary. We have technology boundaries as well. Maybe we are only checking our email 3 times a day: morning, lunchtime, in the evening. Evening, by evening, I mean like, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, end of the workday, maybe. So thinking about how can we set some boundaries around answering our phone, returning text messages, checking emails. I think there's a statistic that talks about if you get distracted. So let's say I'm working on my financials and I'm putting all of my receipts into a spreadsheet, and I get a ping on my phone or on my computer and I get distracted. I go and I check my email. It then takes us 23 minutes to refocus on the original task. And so when we're thinking about distractions and focus and working on our business rather than in our business, people know how to get in touch with us if there's an emergency. It's probably not going to always come over email. Yeah, 23 minutes. It's crazy. It's like either 22 or 23 minutes. I can get you that statistic if that's if I'm completely off, but I'm almost positive it's 23 minutes to refocus at the first task at hand. That includes scrolling on social media. It includes like pulling up our phone to, check daycare monitor for like, oh, how are the kids doing over in daycare today? To think about the distractions that come up and the ability to set boundaries around technology is huge. Another boundary is thinking about our time. And so there are just a lot of different strategies around setting time boundaries and the ability to focus work. So I know that I think it's Robin Sharma who does the 90-10 method. So you have 90 minutes of focus work, 10 minutes of downtime. So, okay, I'm going to work for 90 minutes. I'm going to work on this A task. And then I'm going to take the next 10 minutes and I'm going to, fill my coffee cup, check my emails, take a walk, do something that gets you standing up, moving around, get your blood flowing, fill your water jug, and then come back. And so thinking about boundaries around time, I'm giving myself this amount of time to get this done. Um, I know me, sometimes I can be a perfectionist. If I say, okay, I'm going to work on my social media because I'm the marketing person for my business as well, I'm going to work on my social media. I could get like wrapped up in the weeds and be doing this for like 3 hours. I need to set some time boundaries around that. I need to set an alarm on my phone that's like, okay, after 90 minutes, you are done. You are done for the week. You're putting it out there, whether or not it's perfect or not. Because if I don't set that alarm and I don't have that trigger that goes off in my head that, like, oh, I have to stop now, I'm just going to keep going and I'm going to waste half a day on my social media. And so thinking about like how to set boundaries around your time and and why that could be helpful for you. Suzanne asked why 90 and 10. There are studies about our ability to focus and concentrate. And some people will say 60 minutes. So you could do 60 and 10. It's just, and especially if you have like a diagnosis of ADHD or anything and you find that it's really difficult. Um, After 90 minutes, your brain just needs a rest. There is like science backed information that anything over 90 minutes, like your brain isn't retaining. So it's kind of like the science behind it. It's Robin Sharma has a fantastic book that will go into um a basically the science around it. But I use this a lot with the schools that I work with as well, because especially for kids, 60 minutes, after 60 minutes, they are completely bonkers. Like they cannot concentrate, they cannot focus. And so after 60 minutes, they need this time to be able to just move their body, stand up and shake it out, or whatever that looks like. So, if you can go 90 minutes and still feel like you are focused, great. If you are somebody that struggles with ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADD, attention deficit disorder, you may be on the lower side of 60 minutes. So knowing like what works for you specifically, but it is really about the science behind how long our brain can understand, compute without needing a reset. So, in order to be a resilient leader, we need clarity and we need confidence in order to set boundaries, in order to manage the stress that comes up in the day to day. We want to be super clear and we want to be confident in the work that we're doing. Um, and I think that talking about values, and again, this is something that I could talk about for an hour just in itself, is when you started your business, you likely had a mission statement or a vision statement. You might be operating under some core values for your business. This is something when I do work with businesses, with companies, I will ask, let me see your mission, let me see your vision, And I want to know what your core values are. And a lot of times when it's, my business is me, my business, I am promoting myself. And so what's important to me are my personal values. Thinking about, are my business decisions, are the decisions that I'm making every day, do those align with my values? When I'm hiring, how does that person align with our company values? Decisions, I've worked with a lot of companies to do performance improvement plans. And in that, I will always go back to, what are the values here? What are we missing with this person? And how do we kind of bring them in to align with and continue to make decisions around the values of the company? And so I would challenge you, if you don't have core values, to start thinking about what that looks like for you. One of my core values for my business, and this came out of me experiencing burnout and not knowing how to manage this, is my ability to connect. My family became my biggest core value. And so when I make business decisions, I am always thinking about, how will this impact my ability to connect? How will this impact the time I have with my family? How will this impact my values? So before I'm making any decisions, I'm taking that pause, which is our next piece. And I'm taking that pause and I'm reflecting and I'm thinking about, where does this align with my values? Pausing and reflecting. This is something that we don't do enough. When someone sends us a text message, we have the ability to put our phone down and think about our response before we respond. Hey, I'm, going to this networking event tomorrow. Do you want to come with me? Yes, of course, I'll do that. When we're face to face, we don't pause. We just respond. And a lot of us, I hope I'm not calling you out, but a lot of us are people pleasers. And so our first response is, yes, of course, I'd be happy to do that. If I pause and reflect, what am I missing? If I don't pause and reflect, I haven't thought about, oh, does this decision align with my values? What does my own schedule look like? Am I missing dinner time with the kids? Did I have a date night planned with my partner? If I pause and reflect, I can think about all of that. Do you know how many networking events I've gone to that have nothing to do with like where I want to be? And I'm like, why am I even here? If I would have paused and reflected and thought about, does this align with where I want to be? Does this align with my business? Does this align with my family time? I probably would have said no. But again, a lot of us are in that people pleasing. Oh, of course I'll go with you. Of course I'll take that extra, project because I have all the time in the world. If I pause and reflect, I'm thinking, oh gosh, I have these 3 tasks that I haven't gotten to today. If I take something else on, if I redo this project that I'm not super happy with how it turned out, do I have the ability to get my A tasks done? It's usually the first thing we're pushing off. So then we catch ourselves working in our business and not on our business. So that pausing and reflecting, thinking about it. Hey, I have this networking event I want to go to tonight. Do you want to go? Oh, that sounds really fun. Sounds really like a great opportunity. Let me just go check my schedule to make sure I can fit that in tonight. It gives you that opportunity to step away, just like with the text message. Oh, let me put my phone down for a second and let me just scroll and look at my own calendar. We have that ability to think about our response before we just respond. Modeling resilience. This is where a true leader comes into play. We are taking everything that we're learning, we're aligning decisions with values, we're setting boundaries, we're learning how to manage our stress, we're practicing reflection, and we're not just saving it for ourselves. We are modeling it for our teams, our families, and our clients. The number of clients that I get that we talk about up-leveling our lives, we talk about building in work-life balance, we talk about our next steps, and I'll hear, "Well, my partner isn't here yet." That's okay. We're gonna keep setting an example of how we wanna live our life, and we're gonna hope that they come along for the ride. And that's exactly what you wanna do with your team, with your family, and with your clients. We wanna hope that they come along with us. We're gonna model, and we're gonna hope that they pick up on the importance of coming together and being a resilient team, family, whatever that looks like for you. So here are some of the things that I want you to take away from today. I want you to think about, okay, I am recognizing that stress comes up every day. I know that stress can lead to burnout. I want to start taking on these characteristics of being a resilient leader. I want my team to come along with me for this journey. I want to show them that this is possible, that changing our mindset could make an impact. I want to lead by example. So, how am I going to do that? What am I going to do to implement these tools for sustainable success for my business? So, again, I want you to create a daily non negotiable list. These are your A tasks. This is something, again, I do every single day. There is no reason these don't get done. I have another list of things I'd like to get done that maybe aren't the bigger needle movers for my business. And if I get them done, great. If I don't, maybe they're an A task for tomorrow. I want to set clear work boundaries. So that could include boundaries with your time, your physical space, or with technology. So thinking about one boundary that might be something that you've recognized, ooh, I don't do a great job with that. This is something I want to work on. The importance of building a support network. I think this is so underrated. I met Christine through Rochester Women's Network, and that is a support network that I've built for myself. Being a solopreneur, being in private practice, it gets lonely. If I don't build that support network, I'm going to get lost in my feelings. I'm going to get lost in my time. I'm going to get lost in just the day to day. I want people who can relate. I want people that are doing, like, again, filling your room with the people who have learned how to make that sustainable success. Hey, what are you doing that's working for you? Build that support network of people you want to emulate. Delegating and outsourcing early. I reviewed the A tasks with you. There's an entire system that I use. It's called the ABCs of productivity, and the D in the ABCs is delegate. And so in order to enhance your productivity, in order to build sustainable success, we have to figure out how to delegate. It is important because we cannot do it all on our own. We cannot be the people doing everything. We have to be able to delegate. And again, it's delegating based on strengths. It's delegating based on what you're comfortable giving up. It's based on, many different factors, but identifying something that is okay to delegate. And if you are a one-person show, that might not be feasible for you right now. But when you're thinking about, okay, what do I need to get to maybe hire someone to do my social media or whatever that looks like? stress reset rituals. And this, it could be using the 90-10 method. This could be, okay, what's my 10 minutes of disconnection? I am on a main street, my office, and I had about 20 minutes in between clients the other day. And I was like, wow, I've been sitting all day. I've been in the office. I haven't gotten up. There was a little farm market on the main street. I think it's like Wednesdays or Thursdays. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to walk outside. I am going to go. I didn't even bring money with me. I wasn't going to buy anything, but I just needed some fresh air. And so I literally spent just 10 minutes walking through the stands and talking to people. Like that was helpful for me. And so to think about what your stress reset rituals are. What are you going to spend those 10 minutes doing if you start to implement the 90-10 method? We want to practice reflective pausing. We always want to celebrate small wins, plan for flexibility, revisit our why, and invest in ourselves. Doing your own professional development, getting in the room with people who are wanting to network and get to know you and can support your success. Using those challenges as opportunities. I worked with a lot of teachers who, in order to celebrate their small wins, at the end of each day, we would, on their desk, they would have a little post-it note, and you would have to leave 2 wins from that day. 2 small wins. It could be all the kids left on time, or someone raised their hand when I asked a question and they had the right answer. It could be super small wins. When they came in the next morning, that note was the first thing they saw. They were setting themselves up for success the next day. When we come in with this mindset of, oh, everything's going to go wrong, I'm not doing anything right, I've got all of this to do, it can really impact our mindset and our ability to be productive. So, thinking about what those small wins are and setting ourselves up for success is huge. And so I'd love to, we can kind of start the conversation here. I'd love, some questions and answers. But I'd also love to hear what it is that you feel like you need to set the biggest boundary with. Where is it that we feel like we are struggling? Time, energy, focus. Where is it that you are struggling, and what do you feel like you could do to implement a boundary or a technique that might be helpful for your own sustainable success in your business? If you guys want to come off of mute or put in the chat, I'd love to hear from you guys.
So Jenna, I guess I like the one in the chat that says hard to do in a culture where responses are expected immediately. So I think of when I was in the corporate world, right? And not that I owned this business, but I was on 24/7 because it was retail. So
Mhm.
you're waiting for customers to come in and you can't take a break and go walk outside. What
Mhm.
is your recommendation to de-stress in a business where you think you know what you want to do that day?
Mhm.
You can't get it done because you have people like a retail space coming in
Mhm.
constantly, a cafe, a restaurant, whatever it is.
Mhm.
What do you do to de-stress that day, even when you're starting with the same list you had 2 days ago?
Yeah. So, number 1 is, I think, mindset. The mindset around, someone once told me, and I took this, and I used to be in a hospital setting before I started my own business. I was in a hospital setting, and I operated by the principle as your emergency is not my emergency. And so the idea of, you know what? Like, I deserve a break. I'm able to go, and you know what? Even if it's in the bathroom or in the car for 5 minutes, or you have to recognize your own worth in some of those situations. And for me, I think it's all about mindset. And you have the ability to do it. It's a matter of deciding if you're going to do it.
Understand, because you don't want to let people down. So I think that you brought
Yeah.
that up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think being super clear to ourselves, you know what? I am really struggling to help my customers right now. I am really struggling, like my mindset is really, really bad right now. I am, someone was just extremely rude to me and I need a moment. I need a moment to be able to just get myself in order. I need a moment just to be able to come back and serve the rest of the customers today in a mindset and in a space that I feel good about. And I think that's important too, is like if you don't reset, what kind of energy, what kind of customer service are you bringing to the remainder of the people that day? You owe it to yourself, you owe it to your clientele to be able to reset. And so to just put importance on that, and I've had people say, "Well, what if I'm in a place that doesn't do that?" And I was like, "Well, then you need to reflect and, is that the right place for you?" I'm a big proponent with companies and leadership staff supporting their employees and supporting the overall mental wellness. And so I'm going to say, if you're not in a space that you can take, a reset because you're struggling or someone was, mean to you or yelled at you when you were serving them, are you in the right space? Is that the kind of energy you want to keep going with? And I know that that's not like the best answer because it's not super easy for people to find jobs. And, I think that there's a lot that goes into that. But it goes back to the let them, let me. What am I going to do about that? How am I going to respond to somebody saying to me, you can't take a break? What's my role in this? Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any more questions or thoughts they want to pass by, Jen? We got about 5 more minutes.
I'll unmute
Quick
myself
question.
here to ask the question instead of typing it.
Mhm.
So obviously, as SPDC, we often deal with, or the only type of people we deal with are entrepreneurs, people who want to start a business. So we don't have the luxury that somebody else is responsible for the outcome. We are the ones who are responsible for the outcomes as business owners. So saying, okay, I'm setting a boundary, customers don't come in, you can't necessarily do that because you start harming your business. If you're not doing your financials, you're running behind. You spoke about delegating as one means. Do you have any other ideas that you could throw in the ring here that solopreneurs in particular, or small business owners with a small executing staff of maybe 2 or 3 people, can use to kind of calm the waters of their business and come back to their senses without getting stressed out like you experienced yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. Like I said, I'm a solopreneur as well. So the delegation, while I wish it was there, it's not quite there yet. And I don't know when it will be there. And so I do my best to, and actually I have a resource for you guys. I do my best to prioritize and be as organized as possible. So I mentioned Money Mondays. On Mondays, I always make it a priority to go through my financials. That's my A task on Mondays. Tuesdays might be social media day. Wednesdays and Thursdays might be my client days. So I am trying to be as organized and efficient as possible, and making theme days, making it fun for us. And how do we best fit it in? not only organization, but prioritization as well. I used and I actually have this resource for you guys. It's on the next slide, but it's the Eisenhower matrix, which talks about the effort versus the impact. And so we're thinking about, how much effort am I putting into this versus the impact that I'm getting out? And you can actually kind of think about how to prioritize the tasks that you have that is going to give you the ideas for how to best move forward, maybe that day, that week. What's the least amount of effort and the most impact? So the idea of organization and prioritization, I think for us solopreneurs is really, really important. But I also think, you mentioned the boundary issues. And when I first started my business, I was very much in the mindset of the scarcity mindset. If I don't, somebody reached out to me at 11 o'clock p.m. If I don't respond now, I'm going to lose that client. I was in this mindset of I have to be available all the time, and that's not correct. For me, that wasn't accurate. And so I think a lot of this is our mindset around it. If I don't respond, and if I start work tomorrow at 9 a.m. and I respond at 9 a.m. and that person already found somebody between 11 p.m. and 9 a.m. that night, that's not my person. And so I think that like we want to attract the people that align with our values. To me, the value of time and energy is very important. And so if I'm responding to someone at 11 p.m., that's not the time and energy I want to be putting out there. So the idea of prioritization, organization, is so important for me, and I try and simplify that as best I can. Some days are better than others. We're not perfect, and so just identifying what works for us. And I do have some resources. I have so these are just some little takeaways. But I have a resource that I created. It's called the Balance Blueprint, and it's going to take us through identifying our values, setting boundaries, and stress management self-care tools that work for us. So each person has the ability to kind of work through this. It's just a little bit of a worksheet that you guys can do. And it's going to help you pull out some key needle movers for yourself. It'll have you brainstorm what are some things I could do to set some boundaries? What are some values? And then you're going to take, one piece from each little section and how do I start implementing these into my day to day? So this is just a little resource for you and helping to develop those core values, where boundaries might be important, and how to kind of add your A tasks that are going to work for you in the self-care piece.
Thank you, Jen. We have one more quick question.
Yep.
Any suggested resources in determining or developing core values?
Yes, this Balance Blueprint will walk you right through it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes. And I do think, I know I mentioned it earlier, the book, and I know Christine put it in the chat, the Let Them theory. I think is like I think it's an amazing book. I think it is, people and companies and bosses, if we're not our own boss, they're going to do whatever they want. We don't have control over them. What we have control over is us and how we're going to respond to it. And so I think that's a great resource as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate you being on. I'm hoping everyone had a time to scan the QR code. And this will be posted on, I guess I'll let the library speak as to where it's posted. So this has been recorded.
All right, thanks, Christine. Yes, this will be on the library YouTube page, which is, let's see. I should know this, but I don't.
Here, I can post a link in the chat for everybody.
Thank you, that would be perfect. Yes, it will be at that link, and then the slide deck will be sent out a little bit later.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you,
Yes.
Jen, and thank you
Okay,
everyone for
thank you.
coming.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.